Back here on the Zeise is Right YouTube show here on the Post-Gazette Sports Now YouTube channel. Paul, I teased it. There's a lot of talk about the Steelers get a chance to hire a wide receivers coach. You and I were just talking about Arthur Smith gets to pick his own guys. But of course, as whenever there's a coach opening in Pittsburgh, we have to talk about people that have already been here before. The big name out there that everyone's talking about is Hines Ward. He's been coaching around, I think it was the XFL. I think he had a stint with the Jets a few years back. He has some coaching chops. It's not like he's just a name that Steelers fans recognize he'd be bringing in to coach the receivers. But this would probably be his most visible job to date. Another name I saw brought up in Ray Fittipaldi's chat was Antwaan Randle, the former. Those two were the two ends of the trick play touchdown in the Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl that the Steelers won back in 2006. Paul, do you have any interest in those guys coming in here as the receiver coaches, or would you rather see Arthur Smith get to go outside and look for someone more from his own tree?
Plexico Burris and Santonio Holmes aren't available. Is that what the problem is? Listen, Adam, that's why I laughed out loud, because I knew exactly where you were going to talking about us here in Pittsburgh. Everybody's got to be a Back to the Future hire. Here's the thing. If Arthur Smith is able to interview Hines Ward, for instance, and thinks it's a good fit, at the end of the day, it's a receiver's job. Okay, fine. But if the only reason that Hines Ward is going to get an interview or be hired or even whatever is because he used to play for the Steelers, that's stupid. And I think that, to me, I keep going back to this, and you used a good phrase. A receivers coach from his own tree. In other words, a receivers coach that really kind of already understands what he's looking for, what he wants, how his offense wants, what he's looking for from receivers, all that stuff. You know what I mean? That's all important stuff, to me at least. So I feel like if you look at it that way, I don't think for one second that if you hire, if you're going to make a hire here, if it's just, well, let's hire the old Steeler guy. And I also don't think that the Steelers would do that. I know that they've done it in the past, but I also know that they've passed on the opportunity to bring some guys back. And so, I'd have to look at what Hines Ward's actual resume is in terms of coaching and what kind of experience he has and what kind of players he's actually developed in order for me to decide whether or not I think he'd be a good receivers coach or not. But to me, if you want to say we're going to give him an interview because of who he is and what he's meant to this team, okay. But you've got to let Arthur Smith interview him and see if he fits.
Paul Ray Fittipaldi was asked in his chat also about Tyler Boyd as a potential free agent receiver option. You and I love to talk about the receivers on this show. Is he the kind of guy you have in mind to be that, not a star receiver, not a guy who's going to light things up on the outside, but someone competent who makes this room better? Is he a good, if it doesn't work with him, Ray kind of said, if the price is right, we don't know what the price is going to be. But if it doesn't work with Tyler Boyd specifically, is he kind of the prototype of what you're looking for here?
Well, I mean, I think he's a good receiver, but he's a good third or fourth receiver right now at this point in his career. Again, I keep going back to I would like them to go get just a burner, a speed guy. A speed guy preferably with some size, but of course those guys don't grow on trees. But Tyler Boyd, I think, would be an upgrade. Absolutely. I think he's better than Allen Robinson. Right. So, I mean, I think, you add him into the mix, he'd probably be somebody that could become a competent player for you. I don't know how much I'd be willing to pay him or give up for him or what. I think he's a free agent. I don't know how much I would be willing to invest in him. But I do think that I would look at it and say, he is somebody who makes us better. He's somebody who I think probably fits in the role we're looking for in a third or fourth receiver. And if you add him and then you go out and you add another guy that's just, a burner, that's somebody that can really stretch the defense, then all of a sudden your room looks completely different. And I think that's what they have to try and do this offseason is transform it. But I would not hate Tyler Boyd being a guy they bring in as long as there's other moves that come with it to make that room a little bit more versatile and a little bit better.
Paul, as part of that conversation, Ray Fittipaldo came out with his first 7-round Steelers mock draft. It was on postgazette.com. I'll include the link to that down in the description. Brian Batko, Chris Carter also had 7-round mocks of their own coming off the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl circuit before we get into combine season. None of them had the Steelers going higher than the 4th round, higher than the 4th round with the Steelers drafting a receiver. Does that surprise you, given what we talk about all the time with this group? Or do you say, wow, maybe that's the range where you start finding that burner guy that you were just mentioning, someone who maybe isn't the most complete receiver, whose tape is not going to be perfect, but who has the ability to take the proverbial top off the defense?
Well, I think the big thing is, Adam, we've talked about it many times. Corner, maybe center, which I don't think you're going to take a center in the first round, right? Maybe tackle and receiver. It's one of your greatest needs. And so, the fact that guys are waiting until the 4th round to say, hey, we're going to pick a receiver. Yeah, you're going to get that kind of guy. And I guess here's the thing. If you're telling me, Adam, that they're going to sign Tyler Boyd and then go in the 3rd or 4th round and add one of those guys that runs like a 4.3 or whatever, a 4.4, whatever it is, I'd be okay with that. But it's clear that a lot of other people in town and they really look at the Steelers and they say they need another corner probably. They need a defensive lineman even, because you don't know what's going to happen with Cam Hayward. They need a tackle. They need a center. There's all these other positions. There's some people that even think, oh, well, they need an inside linebacker, which I get, except for you've got 3 of them. Basically, you can keep in the fold. Their problem was they got hurt this year. So, I look at that and say, I don't know that that's a need. I think corner is a need. I think tackle probably is a need. Center is a need, and receiver. Those are the places I would look. And quite frankly, since you brought in Arthur Smith, I'd also be looking to maybe bolster another tight end, although you've got Connor Hayward, you've got Mount Washington, you probably have Freiermuth back, so you might have enough there already.
Paul, also in the draft conversation, specifically with those mock drafts, and if you want to see Brian and Chris's full mock drafts, just look back a video. It's on the Wednesday edition of the North Shore Drive podcast. They'll break down all of their picks. Chris went with Jackson Powers Johnson, the Oregon center, as his 1st-round pick. So did Ray. I think Brian went with Cooper DeJean from Iowa. But that was 2 out of 3 guys on, at least internally at the Post-Gazette, who were going for Jackson Powers Johnson, who had a great week at the Senior Bowl. How do you feel about the Steelers investing a 1st-round pick in a center? Because listen, organizationally, it would make a lot of sense, because the Steelers have always been at their best when they've had one of their Hall of Fame centers, in there and as an option for them. But around the NFL today, it's a position that teams don't really value as much because they tend to spend their money more on tackles and maybe an occasional guard. How do you look at Max or Jackson Powers Johnson as a guy that you could, have on your offensive line for 10 years? Is that worth a 1st-round pick if you have a 1st-round grade on him?
Well, I mean, where do they pick? About 20th? Something in that
20,
neighborhood?
yeah.
20th. I might actually think about moving back if that's who I'm going to draft. See if you can actually get an extra pick out of it. Move back to like 26, 27, something like that, because I think he'll still be there. I don't know that people are going to go after a center in the 1st round. So, you know what I mean? He'll eventually get picked, maybe late in the 1st round. But I would read the room early on in the draft. And if it looks like there's a run at some other positions, he's the kind of guy you probably could actually probably move back and still get. And then you've added another pick. You can address some of your other issues. There's a lot of things you can do if you can get a little bit more draft capital out of it. By the same token, if there's a run of offensive linemen early on, you might have to think about staying there and grabbing him. But I don't hate it because it's a need pick. But Adam, as we've seen in the past, sometimes you want to take the best player. And, to me, if there's somebody that's obvious, that's probably a better player at a different position, I might be hesitant to use my 1st-round pick on a center there. and I might go for the guy who's a better pick, because I just feel like center is kind of that position that you might be able to get a good one in the second or third round. So, as long as you have them surrounded by good linemen around them, you might be able to get away with it that way. But I'm going to be interested to see what this draft brings, because I think there's a lot of possibilities, and one of them is trading back and hoping you get your center.
Paul, quickly before we get into some Pirates talk, I wanted to ask you about your Super Bowl pick, who you got in this game and why.
Ryan and Greg Dell, they asked for my pick this week. And I said, you guys don't follow me on Twitter? You got to know, even if I don't think they're winning, I'm going with Brock Purdy. That's my guy, right? And I said to them, I'll apologize in advance, because if San Francisco wins, I could become the most insufferable person on Twitter for a couple of days with all of my Brock Purdy takes. I don't know. I mean, I think San Francisco's better. I do. I think they're better overall. But there's that quarterback on the other side that's hard to pick against. That being said, I'm going to pick against them. I think the 49ers are going to win. Something like, I'll go like 28-23, something like that. And why not go all in at him? Brock Purdy, MVP of the game.
There you go, folks. You heard it here first. That is Paul Zeise's pick. I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I'll believe Patrick Mahomes is going to lose one of these games to anyone not named Tom Brady when I see it. I could be wrong, but he beat the 49ers 2 years ago. I'm not sure if how different things are going to be, because I think, Patrick Mahomes is the man. But listen, Tom Brady lost Super Bowls too, so maybe this is one of the ones that Patrick Mahomes is destined to lose. I do love that 49ers roster. We're going to come right back here in a second. We're going to talk about the Pirates, some trade options, some free agent options. Before we do, just want to thank another sponsor, Pitt Johnstown. It's a Pitt quality education with up-close and personal learning, a top-ranked Northeast Public College by U.S. News and World Report. Generous scholarships and financial aid are available, located on 655 picturesque acres, easy access to city center with shopping and dining, vibrant campus life with an active D2 athlete community. Make sure you check out Pitt Johnstown. We're going to be right back with some Pirates talk.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.